You know, I'm really proud of this new lifestyle choice I've made. Starting from yesterday, I decided to play only good games, because why would I play bad games? Why would I torture myself or anything along the lines of that's a negative, when I could just play something good like Burger Time? I'm so good at this game, I named myself Ken, but it's not on the screen anymore. You see the high score on the built-in machine is by Ken, so I thought it'd be funny if I said that my name was Ken, and so I could just say I was good at Burger Time. But I think I'll just name my son Ken, if I ever have a kid. You never know. I decided to make this little change in my lifestyle because I played a couple of Donkey Kong bootlegs not too long ago, but I no longer remember anything about them because I got my memory wiped of them. All I remember is that I played them. But beforehand, I decided to record myself, talking about them. So I decided to share it before we go into our new lifestyle. The new era, as you call it, where I play Burger Time and other great games. Not stuff like Donkey Kong, which is the game that got me curious. Like, Donkey Kong? What could that possibly be? I recorded my reaction. Have a look.
Who am I talking to? This is just Tiny Toons. Bootlegs, we all love them. Except for the companies that own the IPs that are being bootlegged. You never know what you're gonna get with these. Sometimes you get a t-shirt that has the first image you get when you search up that franchise, and sometimes you get a mismatch of garbage which can lead to the funniest results. Clothes, toys, and even video games. Pretty much anything can be bootlegged. Who knows? Those Nikes you're wearing could be bootlegs. I have played plenty of bootleg games during my time on Earth, and have found some of the funniest things or something that just sucks. Anything with any form of popularity, people will try and capitalize on it. Donkey Kong was an arcade game created by Nintendo in 1981, and it was a massive success that put Nintendo on the map for a little while. You see, this was before Nintendo made the Famicom in 1983, also known as the NES in 1985. Nintendo wasn't the big company they are today. They made sequels to Donkey Kong, and once Nintendo created Super Mario Bros., there was no going back. Nintendo really didn't know what to do with Donkey Kong, so in 1994, Nintendo got Rare to reboot Donkey Kong as a 2D platformer with Donkey Kong Country, which was a success that put Donkey Kong back on the map. And with this new success, some people thought, hey, what if we make a Donkey Kong game, but put absolutely no effort into it so we can make some money? So they did. The easiest thing they could have done is take an already existing game and put Donkey Kong on it, as you saw with Donkey Kong. But there is another NES hack featuring Donkey Kong, and it's a hack of Joe and Mac. But another thing bootleggers would do is take a SNES game and port it to the NES so that everybody can play the newest and popular games. Starting with Donkey Kong Country, which has a really good recreation of the game's intro. Donkey Kong 4 Country? Oh wait, it's supposed to be Donkey Kong Country 4. Wait, what? This is a fairly competent remake. It's just Donkey Kong Country, but worse. This game is good for people who couldn't afford SNES back in the day, but because I own a Super Nintendo, this just isn't good enough for me. This game has some really strange things, like when you throw a DK barrel, did he ascend? Did the barrel kill him or something? Like, I know why they did that, but it's still a strange compromise. But when you get hit as Donkey Kong, you magically transform into Diddy Kong. This game is also a 2-in-1 featuring The Jungle Book 2, which is the same game but it starts at level 3. And that's it. This isn't a bad port, but there's no reason to play this other than curiosity. So what about Super Donkey Kong 2, which is Donkey Kong Country 2, but so much worse. While the port of the first game was acceptable, this is just a disgrace to the original. First off, whoever made this obviously got bored, considering there are only 3 levels and the music is just... This game is a sequel to a game called Super Donkey Kong. This game has character bios. I mean, that's what I assume they are. It could be a hit list, for all I know. This game feels very off, walking, jumping, and especially rolling, which has a delay which can get you killed, unlike the actual Donkey Kong Country games that are snappy and fast. Okay then, moving on. Super Donkey Kong 3 on the Game Boy. Hang on, you're gonna put the first 2 on the NES and the 3rd game on the Game Boy? You do you, I guess. Super Donkey Kong 3 is based off Donkey Kong Land 3, which is the Game Boy version of Donkey Kong Country 3. If that isn't convoluted, then I don't know what is. In this game, you only play as Kiddy Kong. Yeah, that's right, Dixie is out of action in this one, which is a real shame because who even likes Kiddy Kong? He walks slowly and just refuses to let go of that barrel like a spoiled toddler who refuses to share. Now we have Super Donkey Kong 99 on the Sega Mega Drive. What's funny about this one is that in an ad for Donkey Kong Country, it says that Donkey Kong Country's graphics couldn't be done on Sega. But to that Donkey Kong Country ad from the 90s, I have to ask you, what do you call this? This game looks the part, but it sure doesn't play the part. Donkey Kong moves slowly, even when running, and he's also missing moves. And speaking of missing, this game doesn't have a DK barrel, meaning that there are one-hit deaths, and when you die, you have to hear the beginning of the bonus room from Mario All-Star, which after a while gets really old. The developers made some really strange choices, like all of the sound effects. Every time I tried to play the game, I would get soft locked on the second level, which sucks because I wanted to show my own footage of the ending, but oh well, here it is. Yep, absolutely nothing. I'm honestly glad it soft locked for me, because if I had played all the way through and got this, I would have been furious. And speaking of being furious, that better translate to Super Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong moves slowly, and when you jump, you speed up and then slow back down. Donkey Kong looks odd, but just have a look at Diddy. He looks ridiculous, and his idle animation makes him look confused.
And that was all I had to say about the Super Donkey Kong games, but what I found strange about those games is that they were called Super Donkey Kong, yet none of them came out on the Super Nintendo, which on the Super Nintendo, pretty much all of the games for that console were called Super something. Yeah. But now, let past me take you on a little journey on Donkey Kong bootlegs that aren't called Super Donkey Kong.
Starting with Donkey Kong 5, The Journey of Over Time and Space. What? And if you want to question yourself even more, let's have a look at the story, shall we? First of all, the text is written out very strangely. The story is that Sodoma, who is in charge of all the plants, gets kidnapped and now there is no food left. Donkey Kong is panicking about this, and then because of how hungry he is, he becomes skinny, magically grows a hat, and turns blue. When you press start, you find out that this is just the first Mario game. Just have a look side by side. Bootleg Donkey Kong, you should be ashamed. Also, you stole your running animation from Tasmania on the Game Boy. You should be double ashamed. Now it's time for Donkey Kong 2. Yep, this is the sequel to the original arcade game, not Donkey Kong Jr., you're all wrong. What a great start! I don't even know who this is supposed to be. Is it Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong? Or is it some brand new Kong made just for this game? You have two attacks, jumping on enemies or throwing barrels directly in front of you. If an enemy is slightly below, you won't be able to hit it. If you repeatedly throw barrels, you'll be able to do a super long jump. This game's movement is super jittery and the music is horrible. This game is so broken that the music will end up stopping or just get corrupted. This is one of the worst games I've ever played, and if there are worse games, I don't want to play them, because I highly doubt they are even real.
You know, one thing I do remember was that bootlegs were usually complete abominations that just weren't worth anything, and that I probably would have rather been robbed $20 and buy them at a local flea market. Oh, damn it!